What's up, guys? This is Jesse Corby from Jeweler's Advantage, and today we have probably the most disruptive video that we've done to date at Jeweler's Advantage. You hear us say things like, "This is the new jewelry industry," and this video that you're about to see is a big reason that we say things like that. AI in the jewelry industry goes way, way, way beyond cool designs that you can generate. There's also real business applications for AI in jewelry, and we're going to go over that today. So a big part of business is competition, and this is something that can be triggering for people. It kind of elicits a fight or flight response oftentimes because we're talking about the survival of your business and your livelihood. So it's often a topic that makes people a little bit anxious. So we're getting that out of the way with the cover photo here with this Joker inspired type character. Competition is actually good, and throughout this video you're going to understand why. It's actually really easy to use AI to analyze your competitor, but if you've seen my other videos, you've learned that it's not about using AI as a tool, it's about using it as an amplifier for your imagination, an amplifier of consciousness, if you will. So there's a lot going around in the media about AI possibly taking people's jobs, and that's not at all the truth. It is that a human using AI is your biggest competitor, not AI itself. So what we're going to cover today is how you can use AI to get an idea of what's going on in the market. That's really what competition is all about, and how you can use AI to your benefit in building the business of your dreams. So let's get into it. Now that we got the scary part out of the way with competition, let's talk about the philosophy of competition. Whenever I'm talking with one-on-one clients, we usually take a step back and really think about what it means to have a competitor and what you should be thinking and feeling as you interact with the market and come to understand the market by watching your competitors. So many people will know that I'm a big proponent of the art of war as business literature. At one point, I even wrote out every word by hand of the art of war, so I'm pretty well versed in this material. And there's one quote here that we should pay close attention to on the topic of competition from Sun Tzu. It's, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle." So the lesson here is about really knowing what your business is all about, knowing what your competitors' businesses are doing, so that way there's no surprises. Now, again, these aren't our enemies out in the market. This is kind of a metaphor. They are certainly our opponents in a game of business, but the takeaway here is that we want to know ourselves and know our opponent. To balance that out a little bit, I always try to remind myself and others that my competitor deserves to have a dream too. These people have families to feed just like you. They have aspirations of who they want to become just like you. So in a way, you can appreciate your competitor for that. They have a lot more in common with you than a lot of people out in the world. And you should also understand that there's a yin and yang to this, that you are the competitor to somebody whenever you make a sale. There's going to be a finite amount of sales made in the jewelry market this year, and every time you make one, that's taking one away from a competitor the same way as when a competitor makes a sale, you don't get that sale. So keep in mind, your competitor deserves to have a dream too. And then my favorite quote from Bruce Lee, this takes away some fear. It's just a redaction of a longer quote from him, and essentially it's saying, "I am not locked in here with you, you are locked in here with me if you were locked in a room with Bruce Lee." So I try to remember that to take away fear from the idea of competition. It's like, hey, remember, you're talented too. They've got to deal with you just as much as you've got to deal with them. So remember, competition is good. It brings out your best. If you went out running by yourself, you probably wouldn't run as fast as if you were on a track running a race against other people. So your competitor does serve a purpose to motivate you and make you everything that you can be. And then it also proves there is a market. There's a real functional reason to want to have competitors, because if you're in a lane completely by yourself, you might be by yourself with no customers. So competition is an indicator that there is a place for you to go operate and make sales. So remember though, that you want to focus on yourself 99% of the time. I've got competitors too, and I barely think about them. So for your world as a jeweler, a retail jeweler, there's certainly people selling jewelry. And it's more about keeping tabs on your competitors so that way you can get an idea of what's even happening out there in the world. And every dog will have its day when it comes to sales. So just remember that you should focus on yourself and what you can do for your business. Now, when we're assessing competitors, the best way to do that is within the context of a framework. So we're going to start here with the market. And I promise we're getting to the AI stuff, but as we get into the AI for analyzing a competitor, you need to understand that this is what we're going to be visualizing. So this is the jewelry market. You've seen this in other videos probably. We have low end, middle market, and high end. This is just based on pricing. So 0 to 1,000, 1,000 to about 7,500, and 7,500 and up would be high end. We've got fine jewelry, we've got bridal, hip hop, craft jewelry, cultural jewelry, and art jewelry. The grayed out areas are where you wouldn't want to go as a custom jeweler. Most likely, we'll do longer videos at a later time, but just understand that any of these cells are where customers are paying for jewelry at a certain price and they behave a certain way. And your competitor is living in these spaces, whether they realize it or not, and you are living in these spaces, whether you realize it or not. These are the places where your customer is hanging out. It's about harmonizing with a particular market segment and style segment for jewelry to find where customers already are and sell to them. And you're going to be competing with other people in these spaces. Next, we've talked about the brand prism before. I've got a whole long video about the brand prism, but you have to realize that your competitor, whether they realize it or not, has a brand prism too. So physique would be like their logo and colors. Personality is their brand voice. Culture is how is the emotional energy behind the closed doors of that business and how is it affecting their customers. Self-image is who does their customer get to become when they buy from that brand. Reflection is the perfect customer avatar and how the brand is reflecting that to the customer. And relationship is the relationship between the brand and the customer. So it's going to be very important for you to understand that you have a brand prism and every brand has a brand prism. So there might be ways that you can maneuver around a competitor based on how they've chosen to position their brand within the market. You see? By having this awareness when your competitor doesn't have this awareness, you're already gaining an advantage. And then finally, we have a USP, unique selling proposition. That just comes down to what makes your jewelry unique. Are you selling the same basic fine jewelry that everyone else is selling? Or is there something nuanced and exciting about your brand, how you've positioned your brand to make it unique? And that is funneling down into the products so that the products themselves are like a microcosm of the unique brand that you've created within the market. You see, it's a lot easier to understand this stuff when you can put your eyes on it. So the question is, how do you actually compete with somebody else in the jewelry market with intention? For one, you're going to know that they have a market segment. Then you're going to know that they have a brand prism and they are going to have a unique selling proposition for their jewelry or not. Maybe they're just blending in and they're completely commoditized and there is no unique selling proposition in your competitor. And that's oftentimes the case. This is a hard thing to solve. So let's put it into a real world context. Say we were talking about Fitzgerald's Fine Jewelry, established 1964. Maybe we've got Melanie Fitzgerald here and she's a third generation jeweler. Inherited the business from her father. They're in a major market like New York City or maybe Chicago, and this has been around for generations. This person has been selling engagement rings and all manner of fine jewelry, and you're new. And you have to find a way to maybe be competing with Fitzgerald's. How are you going to do that? You're brand new. You've been around for 2 years. They've been around since 1964. What are you going to do? Well, it is the new jewelry industry. Before, it was really, really hard to get in the game and compete against somebody that's been around since 1964, 50 plus years of experience, well beyond that at this point. Now, in the old world of the industry, it would have been practically impossible to go in and compete with a third generation jeweler. But with everything happening in lab diamonds and e-commerce and artificial intelligence, it's no longer an advantage to be the multi-generation jeweler because they have a lot of habits that are getting disrupted. One of them is getting disrupted in this very video. The establishment of their brand, their placement in the market, the type of goods that they sell. Every bit of that is getting rocked right now as you're watching this in this video because the rules have changed. So we have to be thinking, how can we take full advantage of the technology of our time and gain some type of leverage over Fitzgerald's? So if you're new to my content, you can check out jewelersadvantage.com. We're going to be working with a tool that you can get for free at jewelersadvantage.com as we move over into Jewelers Advantage. So here we are. We've got the AI tool. The very first thing I would do, I'm just going to show you this live. I've got a prepared image of Fitzgerald's, and I would say something along the lines of, this is a family jewelry store that has been in business for 3 generations. They sell fine jewelry and focus on natural diamonds. They are located in Chicago. The brand is called Fitzgerald's. What is the brand prism for this business? The reason we would want to start with the brand prism is it's going to give us the most comprehensive view of this business possible within just a few moments. This is going to account for the market segment of the brand. We'll be able to see exactly what they're trying to do here in a second. We could always ask about market segment as well. But basically, if you can get your head around the brand prism of a competitor, you're really going to have their number, especially if you have accurate information in regards to their customer avatar. So here we've got the physique, we've got personality, we've got culture, we've got relationship, self-image, and reflection. So just to keep it kind of quick, the tangible aspects of the brand are particularly their natural diamond collection. The physical presence in Chicago also contributes to its physique. Very good. It's probably fair to say that Fitzgerald's would likely embody the personality of a classic, sophisticated, and reliable family jeweler. So glancing through this, I see some interesting things. Like most family jewelry brands, there's not anything really standing out that's making this Tiffany or Cartier. It's essentially saying that they're focusing on quality fine jewelry pieces, particularly their natural diamond collection. That might not be on sturdy ground anymore. Something that I found particularly interesting in here was the customers who choose Fitzgerald's likely see themselves as connoisseurs of fine jewelry who appreciate the heritage and authenticity of natural diamonds. That is about to be disrupted over the next few years as baby boomers exit the market and millennials and Gen Z still have a lot of mileage on the type of jewelry that they'll buy, but don't necessarily care about natural diamonds. So you'd want to focus on that if you were analyzing this competitor, especially in regards to self-image. How does this customer see themselves when they buy Fitzgerald? In this case, it's saying they see themselves as connoisseur of fine jewelry who appreciate the heritage and authenticity of natural diamonds. If that is no longer a value in the market, this business would be in a lot of trouble. So I'm not going to go through the whole brand prism because you could do this with anybody and read it for yourself, but this is basically hitting the broad strokes of a typical family jewelry store. The next thing that I might ask is, what is the customer avatar for Fitzgerald's? What this is going to do is this is going to give you the demographics and psychographics of the people that shop at this type of business. Now, in this case, this is Fitzgerald's, a fictitious jewelry business. You can do this with real jewelry businesses. That's kind of the idea. But here we can see that the age is likely between 30 and 60. They appeal primarily to women, based in Chicago. They're going to be affluent, likely at the top income quartile, with substantial disposable income. Any of these areas, you can then feed back into the AI and ask it to expand upon any of these particular ideas to find the right marketing message for this avatar. So we're getting demographics here. Demographics is going to focus on statistics that you would see in things like the census. Psychographics is more about how they think. So if you can combine these ideas into your marketing, you could, in theory, go right after the Fitzgerald's customer. We've got things like behavioral patterns. So what are their shopping habits? What is their media consumption? What do they tune into and watch that informs their thinking? What brands are they loyal to? We're also finding things like their motivations and goals. What are their life goals? What are their motivations for making a purchase? Things like the challenges that they face when shopping for jewelry. And essentially, you've got a really, really good idea of who this customer is. So this is just the really fast version. I wanted to give you an idea that if you went brand prism, you're automatically going to figure out what the market segment is and what a possible brand prism is for the company that you're trying to compete against. Once you dig into the customer avatar a little bit more, you're really going to figure out who this business is selling to. Then you can start thinking, how might I sell to this avatar in my own unique way? And then you can start asking questions like, I am a jeweler that is just starting out. How can I create a unique selling proposition for my own fine jewelry that could compete with Fitzgerald's? So as this is coming together, if you have never approached this idea before, you're getting really high-level consulting from the AI. So Jeweler's Advantage is telling you to identify your ideal customer, analyze your competitors. So you'd be able to feed in any text back into the chat window and have it give you lengthier responses in any particular category. That's going to be aligned with our frameworks in the back end for developing a business across product, marketing, sales, operations, and finance. So everything is comprehensive. If this is new to you, you're getting kind of the training wheels for how you could go about looking out into the market, seeing who your competitors are, and then taking the fear away by demystifying everything that's going on potentially in their business. You'll at least have the framework and the lens to see the market through. We're going to be able to see things like highlight what makes your brand unique. So are your designs original? How is your craftsmanship and materials? What do you offer in terms of customization and personalization? What is your customer experience? What is your price point? How is that landing you in the market and building a perception in your brand because of the pricing? And then are there any sustainable practices that you could maybe promote that are going to appeal to the Gen Z and millennial customers that family store might be ignoring? So things like defining your values, testing the concepts of product. So coming up with designs with AI perhaps, putting them out on social media and see what people like, what they don't like, and then use that feedback to form what your unique selling proposition is going to be. So an example of that could be at your brand, each piece tells a story. Our handcrafted jewelry made from reclaimed vintage materials offers a blend of timeless elegance and modern sensibility, perfectly suited for the eco-conscious trendsetter. That sounds like a millennial or Gen Z type customer. So that's how you can get started analyzing the market and determining who your competitor is. Remember, your competitor deserves to have a dream too. So use this responsibly. And in fact, it is being a responsible business owner to know who you're competing against and know where you are in the market and know how you're going to go play the game the right way. So again, my name is Jesse Corby. This is Jewelers Advantage. Head to jewelersadvantage.com if you want to try out the tool that you saw in this video. It's a huge, huge advantage to you. There's a reason we call it what we call it. And if you want, you can check out the other videos where we design jewelry, build a 30-day marketing calendar, among other things that this can do. This is the new jewelry industry. Again, my name is Jesse Corby at Jewelers Advantage, and we'll see you in the next one.